you're thinking of starting a garden this year, this upcoming spring, you need to figure out what you're going to grow this year. And you can break down crops into two broad categories: your warm season crops, such as tomatoes, peppers, cantaloupes, pumpkins, and your cool season crops. It might be broccoli, onions, things like that. And so depending if you're going to grow either of those or both of those, going to depend on when you want to put things into the garden and or start some transplants in the house to get ready for that spring, whether it be early or late, transplanting into the garden. Some of your cool season crops, let's just say your broccoli or your onions, you can start those from seed early to mid-February. They're going to take several weeks for those to grow from seed to plant, so you can put into that early spring garden. A couple things to keep in mind when starting your own transplants from seed. One is soil selection. You don't want to go out and dig up soil out of the garden and bring it in and start your seeds there. That's just not real suitable for seed starting. You want to get something that contains perlite and mixture of perlite and peat moss, something that's kind of fluffy, something that's a little airy. It does hold water, but it also allows water to drain readily. The other thing to take into consideration is light. These aren't house plants that, some house plants can withstand shade. The parts of the house that don't receive a lot of sun. Most or all of our vegetables need light. So once those seeds germinate, you're going to have to get it light. You need to have some supplemental lighting, and that's something you can purchase at garden centers, box office stores, and so forth. You can place these seedlings next to a window, but there are a couple problems with that. That light level is kind of low, believe it or not, and your seedlings are going to stretch. They're going to get leggy. And so that's going to be problematic. It's not going to be a very healthy transplant when you put it out in the garden. The other thing by placing these seedlings next to a window is typically in the winter months, there's a cold draft there. It's not the warmest part of the house. So placing these transplants that you started from seed more towards the interior of the house or the basement, because you're supplying supplemental light, will give it a good start. You may also want to consider adding some bottom heat. There are some warming tray apparatus type things you can buy that allow some heat to rise up into that media that you're starting your seeds in. Your plants will kind of tell you when you need to water. Don't go by a calendar or a set schedule like I'm going to water every day or I'm going to water every 3 days. You kind of have to look at it, see how those plants are responding. You don't want to water too much. You'll get rot and plants are just not going to perform well. And you don't want to let it get too dry, as the plants will just, obviously, if it gets too dry, reaches a point where they will die off. So you kind of need to eyeball it. It takes a little practice and not a little guesswork, but just looking at it to get that watering right.